Today I'm interviewing Charles Bram, and he does a few different things. He owns his own gym and is building a community around that, but he also does some coaching and consulting for fitness pros. The reason I wanted to interview him is because he has so much insight and has provided me so much value in the short time I've known him. So I'm really excited for you to hear what he has to say. We're talking about social media, leveraging that, building relationships, how to approach potential clients, and all kinds of great information for you. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Follow me on Apple Podcasts, follow along on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, and enjoy this episode. Thank you, Charles, for being with me today. Everybody, welcome to the Build Your Biz podcast. So Charles has a lot of insight, and I'm really excited to interview him, but why don't we let him introduce himself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Coach Charles Bram, and I say coach because what I do in my regular day is I have a personal training gym. So people come to me to transform their body, have more energy, all of those kinds of things. I didn't start here though. I used to be an obese guy, and I got there from working all the time and not taking care of myself. So I opened this business 9 years ago after solving my own obesity problems. And you know, like so many other businesses you hear, I started helping people for free, you know, just friends and family and such. And it's like, oh, hey, you know, I could do this. Yeah. So I opened it as a passion project. And here I am 9 years later, fourth gym location. And I'm on the verge of now launching a program to teach other personal trainers how to grow their own community-focused gym, because that's what I think I do very differently than just about anybody else. Is I focus directly on the 3 miles, 5 miles around my gym, providing people individualized personal training in a small group environment.
That's really exciting, actually. How do you use the internet or your business in order to build a community-based gym?
So I can be found on a number of places online. 2xjumpstart.com for one. That's a landing page, if you will, where if people are searching for, say, Herndon personal training, that would pop up, or personal training in Herndon. It'll just be in the middle of the first page of Google, and so they'll find me there, or they'll find me on Yelp, or they'll find me on Google Plus, or I'm in a giant shopping center, giant food. So everybody who's coming into the shopping center here will see some of the signage, and then they'll go Google Fit Health, and the websites will pop up. They'll learn about my story, and that's probably the biggest thing that draws people to either call in or to set up a time to talk with me through the web forms. Because so many people who live in my region have desk jobs or are consultants traveling, and they're just like, oh yeah, I resemble your comments. And I'll hear that quite frequently when I'm talking to people.
Yeah, so you do a good job with the storytelling, and it helps that you've been in their place.
That helps a lot. So they get the feeling that this isn't going to be the typical Gold's Gym kind of environment. I'm not going to just stick them on a treadmill for 45 minutes and be like, okay, you're done. You know, that's like death to me. We don't even have a treadmill in here. So, you know, they'll see that. They'll see the testimonials that people have written up. And each testimonial has a different flair. Like somebody was going to get married, or they'll talk about how it was difficult to get in and out of a car, or whatever their personal situation is. And so people tend to see themselves in the personal situations, whether it's my personal situation or one of the folks who's giving me a testimonial. They see themselves in that environment. And as a quick aside, that's why you can't just go grab some magical ad that you see advertised somewhere and run that ad and get a flood of new clients, because that ad's not going to apply to your audience. It might, but it's not likely to out of the box. So you need to understand your audience.
Yes, I completely agree. And I like that you are able to bring all of that into one whole cohesive like brand, I guess. I'm a lot of people listening might not have like a physical location or physical products, but it's you're still reiterating the importance of the internet or social proof or kind of weaving everything in correctly together. And you're a living example of it as well.
From their point of view, from the prospect's point of view, the potential client's point of view, your lead, however you want to call that, when they first are coming in contact with my business online, it doesn't really matter whether I have a physical gym or not. So I do work with clients online. We use video,
Mm-hmm.
so I can see what they're doing. And then sometimes we use things like the Google Docs for them to have their workouts and such, and to record what they're doing and what they're eating, and simple tools that are online tools. But at the very beginning, it really doesn't matter whether you have a physical location or not. You still have to understand the needs of your client, whether they're spoken or unspoken. And you have to be able to talk to them in their language, and you have to be positioned somewhere where they're going to find you. Like, for instance, a really easy example that would be Yelp, right? So if you have a business, a service kind of business, Yelp rates service businesses, right? And there's all kinds of other businesses out there that do it too. Thumbtack is one of the ones I hear about all the time. And then, like, if you had a plumbing kind of company, there's other ones that specialize in that, contractor related ones, and they advertise on TV. I can't remember what they are right now because I don't need one. But if there it is, if I needed a plumber right now, then the next time I saw an ad for one of those websites that tracks plumbers and gives them a good rating and allows you to get estimates sent to you for free, then I would know what that is because I'd pay right attention to it. So in my field,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's feeling overweight, their belly's too big, they hate their muffin top, their beer belly is killing them, they're going to be looking for that kind of information subconsciously or consciously. And when something pops up that sounds like them, they're going to pay attention to it.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's beyond just having a website, but again, making sure you know your audience and where they are and where they're going to be. And I'm sure 9 years of experience, you kind of know exactly where your clients are going to be.
Right. And the reason why I know this is because I do an analysis of my clients every once in a while. So 2, 3 weeks ago, I did another big analysis of the last 50 clients I've had. And I did a few things. One, so that included current clients and then the last few clients that I still had the paperwork out for. Um, so I went back to all these folks and I asked them, how would you search for me right now? Not me personally, but how would you search for my business, what my business does for you online? And I got 60 plus responses to that, because some people gave me, well, I would search for this kind of thing first, and then I would probably search for something like this. Or they literally said, this is how I searched to find you. And then part of my paperwork that I have at the beginning is I want to find out where people come from,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if I combine those two pieces of information together, so I have some people who see the signs and just walk in, right? That wouldn't apply to the online, but that was in the original paperwork that I had. Oh, I saw the signs and walked in. Um, so what I found out was half of my business came from referrals or
Mm-hmm.
from me personally knowing somebody who understands what it is I'm doing. Maybe they found me on one of my Facebook posts. So that was literally half of those people. And then another 25% of the folks saw us outside doing exercises, or they saw the signage that we have up and around, and they Googled us to see what was going on. And pretty much everybody uses Google. Not a single person uses any of the other search engines, although I know people do use them, but none of my clients did. So what that tells me is it would be a waste of time to be advertising on those other engines. Even though
Mm-hmm.
someone might find me there, the people that live in this region all Google things. It's part of their vernacular. They just talk about Googling something. And then I have 10 different places online where people could find me, and literally like one person from each of those type of places online. So it's not about just having my website in place. It's about having my business visible online. And it's a
Hmm.
completely different thing than having just this one place where everyone is going to find you, because they won't. People look for different things in different ways. People who are on Yelp trust Yelp, not websites. People that are going to Google Plus are on Google Plus. What is it? Google My Business now. They're
Hmm.
on there. They're using it sort of like Facebook, where they're sending posts out and communicating with each other. So they spend part of their day there. LinkedIn, people spend part of their day every day in LinkedIn. They're not looking for a website. They're wanting to interact with people professionally on LinkedIn. Facebook, they're living in Facebook an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day.
It's easy.
And so 10 years ago, maybe it was simple enough just to have a website. And if you were one of the first people with your kind of business in your region or your part of the world, then you probably got a huge amount of traffic just because you had a website. And maybe you knew nothing about search engine optimization. Maybe you didn't even have a consultant set your page up. Maybe you didn't hire a copywriter, but people would just find you because there wasn't as much competition. But today, people are separating into their little hive groups, to their tribes, and they spend time in those different environments. And so you have to be available to be found in those different environments. Something more recently in the last year is there's a local neighborhood group that
Hmm.
pops up online. And apparently thousands of people in the 5 or 6 neighborhoods around me already knew about it before I did. And someone had recommended me in that neighborhood.com, whatever that thing is called. I can't remember
I
now.
think you're talking about next door.
Next door,
Yeah.
yes, yes, that's what it's called. So I didn't have a page set up there, but as soon as I found out about it, I put a page up, and a few more clients have come through since. Just find me there. So it took me, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to
Mhm.
set up a little page there. And now I'm available for people in that specific little community, which happens to be right around where my gym is, can find me.
So let's talk about that. It sounds like you're on quite a few places.
Mhm.
So this is going to be two-part. First of all, how do you determine, you've kind of talked about how you determine, obviously for you being a gym, Yelp, or the next door and all these things. How do you evaluate when to add something, drop something? And then the second one, how do you manage all of these places?
Okay. Um, to answer your first question, how do you decide which places to be on? I talk with my clients, right? We have a running dialogue, business related, all the time. And people tell me that's a little unusual, right? Their previous personal trainers would just maybe stand there with a stopwatch, maybe a clipboard, count their reps for them, all that kind of stuff. We don't do any of that kind of stuff here. I'm coaching,
Mhm.
not counting and doing that. So we're talking while working out. So somebody's doing their workout, they get a quick break. So I'm constantly in process talking to somebody. And a lot of my clients are professionals. Right. So what do they want to talk about? They want to talk about business. How's your business going? What are you doing lately? And I'll talk to them about their business and back and forth. And so people start talking. And I remember years ago, Craigslist was something that was working really well at the time. People would be coming in and they're like, oh, I just found this thing on Craigslist. Oh, what did you
Mhm.
find on Craigslist? Oh, I bought this little workout thing for home. And so I said, people are buying workout equipment for home. So I went on there and I found hundreds of listings for workout equipment. So not only did I put up my services on Craigslist, but I also started selling gym equipment. Okay, because I could see how many people were popping up on there all the time, and people that were posting things were also looking to buy things. And there was dozens and dozens of different categories, and then people started talking about it just in the regular area. So I popped ahead of that, and then one day it stopped working. Right, so I would hardly get any hits from that. So I stopped wasting the time a few years ago of putting up all of the ads and such there. So first, I listen to my clients, what they're telling me, what's of interest to them, because you want to find people that are like them. What
Mhm.
are they doing? How are they spending their time? And that gives you something to start researching. Once you start the research, now you see, is this something significant, or is it not significant? Like for instance, a couple people have mentioned to me, "Oh, you ought to get on some of the dating sites because those people are very interested in losing weight." And I was like, "That's kind of an interesting idea, but I don't know how to put up uh, a what is it? I've been married for a very long time now, but your profile, your dating
Yes.
profile. That's what people call those things. Like, could I put up a profile where, hey, you come here to work out?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I
I
haven't gone
wouldn't know
into
how
that.
you would do that.
But there's a lot of people who are thinking about losing weight when they're in that. So maybe I'll put an ad up on Facebook that would
Mm.
target, hey, are you not getting hits on your Tinder profile, whatever it happens to be? We can help you with that.
That makes sense. So it's sometimes it's not always being on the platform, but knowing that it's a way to target people.
Yes. So
That
you
makes
you always have to be talking with your clients and your potential clients and seeing what their needs are, the way they're thinking, and that way you can get in front of them and you can start talking to them about things that are of interest to them. Probably the easiest one for me back years ago was talking about getting ready to get married or being part of a wedding party because it's a very specific event. It's going to be happening within a certain time frame,
mm,
and there's a lot of pressure to look good.
that makes sense. I think that would catch a lot of people.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think I even did that when I was getting married.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a whole lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
Fitting into that dress, fitting into the tux.
Yeah.
You're the mother of the bride, father of the bride. I keep hearing people talk, oh, I'm going to be in all these pictures. I hate being in pictures. I don't want my fat face showing up in the picture. And so you're just listening. You're a sponge. You're listening to what people are saying, and then you start talking about that with people, whether it's face to face, on a blog, Facebook post. It doesn't really matter. You're talking to people. This is the biggest point that we have to remember no matter what business we're in is on the other side, the person who's reading, the person who's listening, the person who's watching is an actual human being. And if you were sitting down at a bar or if you were sitting across from them at the lunch counter, what would you be talking about?
Okay. So then what is your advice for helping build that relationship with customers or potential customers?
So I look at it more from attraction rather than repulsion.
Okay.
Um, so the marketing industry likes to kind of divide itself that way. Although if you are doing a repulsion approach, then you're attracting people, and if you're doing an attraction approach, you're repulsing people off to the side. But I prefer to attract who I want to work with, right? So if you start talking about something that's of interest to them, now they're naturally going to engage, right? If you're going to ask them a question, you're going to make some kind of statement, you're going to describe a story, and now they're going to like it, like say on Facebook. They're going to like it, they're going to share it, they're going to love it, they're going to laugh, they're going to get angry, whatever. It's catching their attention and they're engaging in some way. They may follow you for a while on these kinds of topics, and then they might start commenting.
Hmm.
They might send you a private message. And so now it's a very simple thing. So they tell me, oh man, I just feel so bad about myself, or I need to lose so much weight. And so I might just respond to them, oh, what's important to you about losing this weight? Thanks for contacting me. What's important to you about losing this weight? I'd love to talk with you about this further, but first I need to understand, you know, why this is so important to you, etc. And once you start showing an interest in them, now they will either open up or not, right? And somebody who's not going to open up is not going to end up being a client, right? For me to be effective with somebody, I need for them to be able to tell me what's going on. You know,
Hmm.
what obstacles are they facing? What kind of frustrations are they facing? What are they afraid of? Like if somebody's not willing to tell me that they're afraid to go into the gym, I can't help them to understand how my gym environment is so much more comfortable and the support from those surrounding them. Because they're not reading an ad, right? We're having a conversation. But
Yes.
if they are open, then you're going to ask them a simple question and they might write a paragraph and you go, oh, this person really wants help. And now you just build that relationship. It happens the same way if I'm at a Christmas party and the person's just like, oh, hey, what do you do? Oh, I own a personal training gym. I help people transform their bodies, get more energy, lose excess body fat, that type of thing. And I just kind of smile at them and they go, oh, wow, that's great. I've been thinking about this for a while. And so you just have a natural conversation.
That makes sense. And reading the person on the other end, like you really need their feedback before you proceed. You don't want to just keep selling to someone who's not interested, even if you're not selling traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, we say it's not selling traditionally, but in from my perspective, effective salespeople have always sold this way. You have to understand what it is that the person needs before you can provide the value to them. Right? They're never going to see the value in your offering if you haven't had a deeper understanding of what their needs are, and then you're addressing their needs. And sometimes those needs aren't stated, but you can get to them.
Okay, that makes sense. What do you recommend for people who are not really good at having that dialogue, that effective dialogue, not necessarily saying trying to get yeses all the time, but do you have any insights on how newer business owners could approach potential clients or having that, or feeling, particularly maybe introverts, feeling like they can do this, they can talk to people?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you mentioned introverts because I'm quite introverted. I would much prefer to be listening rather than speaking. So this was easy for me to learn. So an introvert who is newer to sales but really has a great service to offer or a great product to offer, it doesn't really matter too much there. Um, they should have a series of questions that they memorize.
Okay.
Right? And I hear people's the back of their head spinning off right now. Oh no, you can't do a canned speech. That can't work. It's like, oh, all right. So I no longer have a canned sales process. I'm interacting completely with the individual, but I do have them go through an online questionnaire that is a standard set of questions, right? So before we even talk, they've already thought about these things, written down their answers, and now are deciding to submit that form to me. It's quite possible that they could go through and go, oh, this is too personal, not even send it to me. I wouldn't even know. I would have no idea. But the same kinds of questions that I have on my online form would be the same kinds of questions that I would ask somebody in a live forum.
Mm,
Okay.
that makes sense.
All right. So some of the questions that I ask are just very specific to my kind of business. Like one of the first questions I ask is, do you live near my gym? Right. And I say the area. So that wouldn't make sense for most people. But there might be a similar question that they would ask in that, are you in my time zone? Right. Or are you within a couple of hours of my time zone? Because if you're trying to work with somebody who's 15 hours ahead, it might never work with your business schedule and it's going to be very difficult to support them.
Hmm.
Right? So a person could decide, I only want to work with people in the continental United States. And so you might say, hey, we're in the Eastern time zone. What time zone are you in? So you get a good feel for that. Right. So we're up and thinking at the same time. Our brains are effective at the same times of the day. That could be an interesting lead-in question because you might meet somebody at a business conference out in California and you live on the East Coast and maybe they're from Australia. I mean, that's certainly happened to
Yeah.
me before. Um, so you want to have some sort of question like that. And then other questions might be, you want to get them to open up about what their problems are. So you can ask them, what have you been thinking about doing related to what their problem is? Or you could ask them, what are your goals over the next 90 days, 6 months around this particular problem that they have discovered or are discussing with you? And then you can sit back and listen to them. And they may give some kind of glib response. And so you can decide, that, oh, they were just humoring me because they're trying to network, right? And they're not really listening, or they don't really have a problem, but they just kind of wanted to have that instant bond that they
Hmm.
think is going to be an instant bond. So they give some kind of glib response. But some people just really haven't thought about it very much. And so you would dig to a next level deeper. You might even go 5, 6, 7 letters deep with that question. So, in my case, they might say, I would like to lose 30 pounds over the next 6 months. And I say, wow, that's a pretty ambitious goal, right? Um, what's important to you about losing the 30 pounds over the next 6 months? And now they're going to talk for a while, and maybe it's still maybe pretty surface level. So you pick one little topic out of that that seems like it might be the most important to them, and you ask them about that. Um, so they might mention something about getting ready to have another kid. That's something that's come up several times in the past. And I go, oh, okay. So what's important to you about the kid? I'm not sure that I fully understand, and losing the weight. And then they might hit you with the real reason. Well, my doctor told me it's going to be very difficult to get pregnant again because I'm not very healthy. And the
Mm.
last two pregnancies were very, very difficult. And so I just 100% believe that the reason why that was going on is because I'm so unhealthy. So I figure if I lose this 30 pounds, my body will be a much better vessel for my next baby. And now you can naturally go into the rest of the conversation.
And you've learned a lot more about them, and therefore you've established a deeper connection than just, hey, I have a gym.
Right. I have a gym. Please come by. You start working out tomorrow. We'll give you three sessions for free, and you can see what's going on. It's just, and that person goes,
Yes,
because
yes.
they're not ready to have that kind of go in. What, your gym? Gyms are scary. Yeah. You know, oh, when can you come in and meet with?
Mhm.
You're just pushing too hard. It doesn't matter how good your solution is because you don't even know what you're trying to solve at that moment in time. But at the
Yes.
appropriate time, maybe 5, 6 minutes later, you can say, well, it sounds like you're pretty busy during the week. Would you like to come by Saturday morning and just see what we do? And now they're ready to come in and spend a little time to see what's going on there. Or would you like to set up 30 minutes so we could get on the phone Tuesday night at 8 o'clock and we could really talk about this in detail when we're not surrounded by a bunch of people? And then it's a very natural way to do that as well.
I like that. It reminds me of, now this is not necessarily unique to Facebook, but I learned this with Facebook of, and you probably see this all the time, that we're trying to market in a way where we're not accusing them of, I guess in your instance, we're not accusing them of being overweight or, fat, but we're presenting it sometimes as, I guess the example I was given, for instance, is if you're putting on Facebook that, hey, here are 6 ways to clean up your house, then you're not presenting it as a, well, your house is dirty. You're presenting it as a, let's save time cleaning. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You might start off with a question, something along the lines of, does your house scare you? Are you afraid to open your closet door?
So learn, yeah. So retraining to solve the problem without being accusational, and I like a lot of your questions and your prompts to getting to know them better.
Hmm.
So that was awesome. Let's see, and then I think the other one was, how do you manage all your? I know we got on a great tangent, but how do you manage all your? If you're on the 10, how do you manage all those?
So many of these sites are set up and leave alone.
Mhm.
You will load up some pictures. You'll describe what your company does. Many of them have specific categories, so you have to pick one or more of those categories. And you just think about the stories that you want to tell, and the way you want to talk about your service offerings or your product offerings. And then every 3 months or 6 months, you just sort of go back through each one and read it anew, right? So you've now just spoken with your clients again about how they would search for you, what they like about your business, what they don't like about your business. Um, Maybe there's new language that's come into place, that type of thing, and you'll go back to the sites and you'll just make small updates at that point, just so you're sort of moving along with as humanity is moving along, as your client base is moving along. Maybe 6 months down the road, your audience is 3 times the size it was before, and there's new things that that audience is talking about that your old audience was not talking about, and so
Mm-hmm.
you might want to put something in place there. This goes really well for Facebook posts and for blog posts. You want to get real specific about a particular topic. You know, maybe in my world it might be, I used to love running. Okay, so you could have a topic specifically about that. With the underlying problem might be, I can't seem to lose weight anymore because I can't really run. My knees are bugging me, something like that. And so there are thousands of tens of hundreds of thousands of people who used to be runners whose knees, ankles, and hips hurt them now. They put on 20, 30 pounds and they still want to be able to do something. So you can have a Facebook post that talks specifically about that. But 6 months ago, maybe runners weren't on your radar.
Mm. And now you're finding more and more runners are already in your audience type thing.
Mm-hmm. So you want to speak to that audience, or you've chosen to go after a new audience, right? You have now mastered the audiences that you're working with, and you're looking to go after that next audience. Maybe the next audience is brand new moms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're trying to lose the baby weight. Maybe another audience would be, so you just retired, now what? Yeah, there are so many different audiences, not just in my business, but across all businesses. So I might go do some research with different groups, online forums, blogs that talk to that particular area, and then look at the comments.
Mm-hmm.
What are people saying in there? Is this a group of people I want to work with, right? Or are they just a bunch of whiners? It's like, oh, being introverted, having a whole bunch of people just sitting there whining at me all day. It's like, oh, stab myself in the eye. Yeah, I mean, I want to work with people who want help and don't know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they need a supportive environment because that's what I provide. Online, I work with people who are able to do things on their own. But in my gym, I work with people who would not be working out if they didn't come in my gym. It just
Sure.
doesn't happen. They might go for a walk or something, but they're not going to be lifting weights if they're not here. They might
Probably not
even have 3 gym
running.
memberships,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not going to go.
That's true. I like what you said about mastering one thing. So let's kind of talk about how you would establish, okay, you've mastered one, which, you know, a lot of people call a vertical. You've mastered one vertical or one thing. When do you feel like is a good idea to start adding on a second one with also maybe the caveat that some people probably shouldn't add a second one? Do you have any insights on that?
Most people should not add a second one.
Okay.
Most people think they want a second one because they're not making enough money in the first one.
Okay.
Okay, so I was mentoring 4 personal trainers last month as I'm getting ready to launch my Fit Pro newsletter that's going to be going out to personal trainers and everybody else who's involved in this industry, how to work with your direct community. So instead of just looking at my own gym and my experiences, I wanted to have other people's experiences as well. So I was in one of the online groups where people are personal trainers and they were talking about a particular topic. And so I made the offer: who would like to have some coaching themselves to expand their business, to improve their business, and be mentored for the next month? And so these 4 folks jumped on, like, yes, please, me. All 4 of them had the same exact problem. They were all trying to do several different things at the same time because what they were doing right now wasn't making enough money for them.
Okay.
So your average business owner should not try to have 4 different major product offerings. They should understand how to reach better the audience that wants the one product. Okay, get better at delivering that one product to them. Get better at asking for the referrals because you've done a really good job for them. Remember, I said half of my clients are from referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And these people stay 3 years, 5 years, that kind of thing. I'm not out there beating the bushes every single day to get a new client. I only get a handful of clients every month. So I'm not even spending money right now on marketing. And these folks may be spending $500,000 a month on marketing and still not getting enough, because they're marketing this, they're marketing that, they're trying this website, they're trying Google ads, they're trying Facebook, they're trying LinkedIn, they're trying all these things, and they haven't even gotten one source working at all.
Okay.
Right? So they should take their one product or service and they should make it better. Make it so that people want to refer people to them for that product and service. And how they're going to do that? Call up your clients and say, hey, why haven't you referred me? All right.
I'm
And
not
they're
being
going,
part of the answer.
you may not be. And they haven't asked because they don't want to know.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what you're not doing well. But if you're going to be in business for 9 years in a particular business and do well in the industry, you got to be ready for bad news, right? Years ago, I had people quitting after the first couple of weeks, left and right. When I was first starting, I was like, man, what is going on? People would come up to me at the gym and be like, dude, I need a really hard workout. You're a trainer. Can you give me a really hard workout? I just can't seem to push myself. So I would give them really hard workouts, and 1 to 2 weeks later, they would just quit. And after 5 or 6 in a row did that, I started calling these folks back up, and I said, I just need to understand. Please, I'm not going to try and make you work out with me again, but if you could just help me and understand why you quit. And every one of them told me the same thing. The workouts were too hard. And I said, but you asked me for hard workouts. I said, yeah, but not that hard. So I learned, right?
Yeah.
And from that, I built an entire series of fundamental exercises that I took everybody through, no matter what level they were at. Right? And so instead of pushing even the athletes who would come to me, I would have to convince them to go through my fundamental process for a few weeks. And then I promised them I would push them very hard, but then they would be ready for it. Their shoulders would be ready for it. Their hips would be ready for it. Their knees would be ready for it. Right? Their ankles and so on. And so, okay, good. And so no one ever quit again from being pushed too hard. Right? So I had to learn this problem in my business. So if somebody is making $2,000 a month and they've got, like, say, a couple products or a couple services that they're offering, the reality is they need to get better at those services, and they need to get better at who needs those services and to be in front of those folks, either with ads or organically. Okay. Now, once they have built out those 1 or 2 core products that they're doing really well for people, and they find that suddenly they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs for an hour or 2 every day, now it's time to add on a new product or service.
Okay, that makes sense. It's sort of like, first of all, you don't need to add anything until you have the time, because then you're half-assing or whatever.
Yeah.
So where do you recommend people start? Where do you start when it's maybe time to add that second thing?
I look back over my client base, and I frequently I will just pull up the names of all of my clients. Right, they're in a list in my email, my contacts list, and I'll just look at each person, and I'll start saying to myself, what could be different for them? 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 What could have been different for them at the beginning? What could have been different for them at the beginning? What could have been different for them at the beginning? And I take notes on paper. I know this is crazy. I'm 45 years old, so I'm used to doing stuff on paper. There is something called mind mapping. Are you familiar with mind mapping?
I
Okay.
am.
For all of you out there listening to this that are not familiar with mind mapping, take a sheet of paper, put the topic, whatever topic comes out of your head, put it right down in the center of that paper, and put a circle around it and start drawing dashed lines off, and whatever comes to mind associated with that topic, put it into place. And so 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I've got a page full of branching lines, and I've written notes under certain things. Difficulties, obstacles. Oh, this would be really cool. Just whatever's coming to mind. So my mind's going in 100 different directions at the same time, and I'm just jotting the ideas down as they build upon each other or don't build upon each other. Maybe they're fighting with each other. And now I do an analysis on it. Where do I want to go? whatever makes sense, then I take a look at the marketplace and see whether it makes sense to bring that out to them.
How much do you use like your analytical side, and then how much are you using like your gut and intuitive side?
I use my analytical side much more so than my gut side.
Okay.
But I use my gut to make a final decision of what I want to do. All right, so I'll give you a great example. I used to be a strategic IT consultant, made pretty good money. I used to buy and sell real estate, made pretty good money. If I was purely looking to make the most money possible, I would probably leave what I'm doing now and go back to one of those two industries. As good as I am in my current industry, I'm actually better at buying and selling houses.
Hmm.
Right? And you need one house and you can make a pot of money.
Yeah.
Right? You have 2 or 3 of these projects going at a time, and you're already in 6-figure range for the year. In the consulting area, you land a small consulting project, you place 2 or 3 people on this engagement, you could be at $250,000 before you even blink. Right? So both of those businesses, if you know them, are pretty easy to grow quickly in. But I don't want to do that work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My gut doesn't feel comfortable at doing that kind of work. So when I was talking with one of my mentors about next steps in my business here, he asked me a specific question, which you can ask yourself, which your listeners can ask themselves. If you tomorrow had to go in front of a group of 30 people and you were going to be with them for 8 hours, all day long, right? What topic would you want to talk with them about for that 8 hours? Okay, so I look back at my page of notes, or maybe 2 or 3 pages of notes with all the different ideas I've put down, and it's like, that one, that's what I would like to do. And so a few months back, when I answered the question, it was, I would love to be sitting down with a room full of fit pros and helping them to build out a community-focused gym. Right? This is what I'd like to do. Get them out of making 20, 30K a year, 50, 60, or 100K a year, so they can raise a family on what they're doing. Right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to raise a family of 4 on a personal trainer's income. Maybe only 10 or 15% of personal trainers can do that. But if you have the right tools in place, if you know what to do and how to do it, there's no reason why you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's who I want to work with. And the specific topic that I want to work with them on is how to make an effective community-focused gym. Profitable, working with clients who aren't going to suck the life out of you. Again, I'm an introvert, so I've always got to be really careful about working with people who are just going to suck the life right out of me.
So, okay, as a gym owner, then how are you able to? Because you have 4 locations.
No, this is my 4th location
Okay.
over time. I only have the 1 location.
Oh, okay. So, but still, you're busy. How are you able to add that pivot on to your workload, your time, and all that?
Okay, so I do everything based on my calendar. Everything is based on my calendar. So my official business day starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it officially ends at 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Okay, so I have several hours in the middle of the day for my recharge time every single day.
Good. Okay.
All right, so I've got a couple sessions in the morning, then I've got a several-hour block of time, and then I have several hours in the evening that finish up at 8 o'clock. So I have approximately 2 hours per day, Monday through Friday, that I can put into this next business venture.
Okay. And are you putting that in your recharge time, or just you've scheduled it every day?
I still have my recharge time
Okay, good.
available around that. And that time when I'm running around doing errands that people would do in the evenings, going to the grocery store and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've definitely planned around it, and you're very strategic and organized with that.
You have to be.
Mhm.
I have right now 44, 45 clients. I get text messages, I get emails. Um, I do things like this in between. Um, I'm on in business groups throughout the day, sharing knowledge, learning, that type of thing. So all I'm really going to be doing over the next couple of months is taking a lot of the time that I have been learning and sharing in a broad business perspective, and I'm going to refocus that time on directing it with fit pros, personal trainers.
Awesome. I'm really excited about that. I like that you are so like committed to your calendar. I think as online business owners, maybe newer, but the people that have never really had the traditional 9 to 5 or the corporate, I think we can be not as structured and organized and disciplined. So
Very
what do
true.
you recommend for, the people that are getting started out, the solo small business owners, it's particularly with systems and getting organized so we can have time off, have our recharge time, etc.
Hmm. So I came from the consulting world, and we had clients, we had deliverables, we had review periods, we had all of these things that had to happen. Maybe it was a 4-week engagement, maybe it was a 6-month engagement, maybe it was a year-long engagement. There were milestones, you had reviews with the clients, you had internal reviews. So all of this made sense to me because we had to budget our time. Otherwise, we couldn't get there. You know, okay, we've got 3 months to get this project done. You work backwards from that, and everything has to fit in between. So I got lots and lots and lots of experience building out projects like that. When I came on my own, initially I didn't work from my calendar because I was kind of happy to be free from having to schedule everything all the time, and I wasn't nearly as effective.
Mm.
And I probably struggled against that for maybe a couple of years because I wanted to be just as effective without having to schedule things. But one day I finally decided, you know what, the real freedom comes from having scheduled things, because now you know when you're free and when you have to do things, and you don't have to think about it anymore. So if it's in my calendar, it's in my calendar. I don't have to worry about it anymore. At 11 a.m., I'm supposed to worry about this. Okay, so 11 a.m., I start worrying about that particular thing. But at 4:15, when my first clients are coming through the door, I'm focused on them and what they need to do. I'm no longer worried about that other thing. I won't be able to work with that again until the next time slot that I got available. Now, it's working in the back of my head some, but I'm not consciously spending a whole lot of time on it. So the calendar gives you the freedom. So if I was starting out a brand new business today, I would schedule my day like this. Let's say your first hour is 8 o'clock. Now, I'm kind of a night owl, so 9 o'clock works better for me and always has, even when I was a consultant. Because I'd come in and people would be like, dude, the day started 3 hours ago. What, we're already halfway through the day and you're just rolling in. It's like, eh. But I was the guy who stayed till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So I've been working these kinds of later hours my whole careers. Um, the first hour of that day needs to be on you. Okay, not on clients. It needs to be directly on you. So if I was talking to somebody who was overweight and out of shape, I would say spend that first hour taking care of yourself so that you're going to have the energy and capability to get through the day effectively, right? So go get your exercise in. Go to the grocery store and buy the foods that you need to have. Go do some prep. Maybe one day you're not working out. Maybe one day you're prepping food, that type of thing. That first hour of the day needs to be that way. And I used to have an employee who I literally paid to spend that first hour of the day to get into shape because I needed the activity, and this was the right person for the job, and I cared enough about them. I was like, you're going to go do this. And they're like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, no, I'm not kidding at all. You're going to spend your first hour taking care of yourself. Then you're going to work for me. And you can't start working for me until you've done that first hour of taking care of yourself. Jaw drop. 6 months later, belly 6 inches smaller, much more productive human being. Yeah.
Wow.
Much
Good
happier.
boss.
Yeah. Okay, so that first hour has got to be for yourself, and you have to block that time. right? So if you're already working out and such, then maybe 8 o'clock is we pull out the planner and we start planning out what we're going to do for the first 10 minutes for the day. And then maybe you need to put together a landing page, or maybe you need to figure out some copy for an ad, or whatever it happens to be. It needs to be focused on you and your business, generating business. Maybe it needs to be working on a system for that business, right? So most people wait to work on their business to the end of the day once everything is done for their clients. But now you're exhausted, you've made a bazillion decisions during the day, and you're going to be completely ineffective. So instead of spending an hour, you're going to be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. How do I know this? Because I've done that a number of times where I've put things off until the end of the day. Oh, at 10 o'clock, I'll be able to get into that. I've had dinner, everything's done for the day. I've chatted with the family and such. Any homework needed? Okay, now I'm going to start working on my own stuff. And what I thought might be done by 11 takes until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because you're just so tired. You're making decisions so poorly. You're looking at various things. You can't decide between them. You put that away. Oh, I'll come back to that. 30 minutes later, you come back to it. You still can't make a decision, and it's done. But if you did that at 8 o'clock in the morning, boom, 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 decision after decision, just done. What's the most important? Because I got to be working with clients at 9 or doing
Mhm.
client work at 9. I have to get this stuff done first.
That's true.
Okay. So that's what I would recommend for them. And if they spend 6 months doing that, where they're working on their business, they're working on themselves, maybe they're reading a book on sales, they're reading a book on marketing, they're going through a course on sales, they're going through a course on marketing, they're going through a course on whatever service they're providing, they are improving their business or themselves in some way that first hour per day. Get that done. The second thing is plan out the rest of the day and have it blocked.
I agree. Time blocking has been huge for me. And then though I like the idea of adding a recharge, recharge hour or something. It's
Yeah.
easy for us to just go, go, go.
So I talk to a small business owner and I say, well, what do you do for lunch every day? I have it at my desk so I can keep working. Stop that. Why? I'll never get everything done. Stop it. Just stop having lunch at your desk while you're working. You maybe go sit on the other side of the desk and eat at the desk, but not in front of your work, not in front of your keyboard and your computer. Get out of that specific environment, at least by moving somewhat, and allow your brain to stop thinking about the problems. Go to the grocery store, pick up a couple of fresh food items that are going to be good for you to eat. Go look at something you've been thinking about buying for your kids. Go for a walk in the middle
Mhm.
of the day. Make a phone call to a friend or family member. Just get your head out of your business for 30 to 60 minutes.
That's good advice. I think that's good advice we all need, even if we feel like we're um, so busy as like the solo business owner. Well, you have provided a lot of great insight, and I'm really happy that we could sit down and talk and pick your brain a little bit. So, and I look forward to seeing how this new program works for you and your Fit Pros and consulting and helping them build the community-based gym. That's awesome. I hope that's very successful. Is there anything else you might want to share or last minute insights?
I think if we're talking about the newer business owner, the thing that they need to focus on is whether their time and activities are producing revenue for them. And if it is producing revenue as it should be, is it producing profitable revenue? All right. And a final look at that profitable revenue might be if it's making $5 or $10 an hour, that's still not good enough. Right. It's got to be generating the kind of money that you think you should be making. If the activities you're doing, look at all the different activities you're doing throughout the week. Put them all down on a piece of paper. I make these phone calls, I post on these pages, I write these blog posts, I send these emails, I run these ads, I ask for referrals in this particular way. Put it all down and rate each one of these activities that you're doing throughout the day, throughout the week. Is it profitable activity? Is it profitable enough activity? And if it is, great, keep doing it. If it's not, then stop it immediately, no matter how good it feels to be doing it. And if you are going to continue doing it, write down, this is my favorite hobby, and it now needs to occur outside of regular business hours.
Okay.
Okay. So let's give a real specific example of that. Every Monday, I write 3 blog posts, and then I publish them every other day through the week. I can't track any revenue to those 3 blog posts, but I feel great about writing those blog posts. I really think I'm sharing a lot of good information for people, and I think it's really helping their lives. And I spend all Monday morning writing those. Okay, nix it because it's not generating any revenue, or you have no idea what it's doing. You need to look further into, talk to all your clients. Hey, did you first find me about one of my blog posts? What, you do blog posts? Next client. Did you first find me doing blog posts? You do blog posts? Yeah. We got to cut that. And then determine something else to spend that time on that's going to be effective. And if you're cutting off your workday at 7, you still want to do those blog posts because it just makes your heart sing. It's just something you want to do. Then you start writing that blog post at 10 o'clock at night or something after you've taken care of family and friends and activities and such.
Perfect. And because a lot of it is, we are a business. Sometimes we have to take the emotion out of it. And that emotion can come back once we're making enough profits.
When your time is returned to you, because when you're young in business, you don't have enough time, right? There's never enough time to get it all done. So you really have to prioritize what you're doing. And if you're trying to have a sane 8-9 hour per day workday, not 12 to 16 hour per day workday, the only way you can ever make that happen is if you're ruthless with cutting out activities that are not revenue productive activities.
That is great advice to end on. Good job. Good job adding that in. Okay. Well, thank you again, Charles. And for everybody listening, you can follow Charles on Facebook. I mean, you have a lot of great insights, and you let us know if you have any particular questions after this episode.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate the invite.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Be sure to follow along on Facebook, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Android, wherever you guys are. Like us, share us, and give us feedback. This is the Build Your Biz podcast and show, and I am really happy to have you guys here. Let us know what future episodes you'd like to see, and again, any feedback you guys have. And I am always here for you guys. I will catch you in the next episode.